Hello and welcome to my video. This class was intended to be a bit of fun because people keep mentioning that faces appear in like clouds and in trees and all kinds of stuff like that. So I thought, well, let's do a face in a tree. So off we go, but I will say just before we start, I've sped up the video so you can see it fast at the beginning, and then if you're interested to see how it was constructed with a bit of me talking, hang on and you'll see it later. But before we get started, could I ask you, if you like this video, please subscribe, hit the thumbs up button and the bell icon, and it does help. Thank you very much. So this is going to be a slightly jokey one. Oh, and people people want to see my palette, I'm going to use two palettes. I'm going to start with this one, which has just got the two colours I mentioned earlier, red ochre and Payne's grey. And I'm not going to worry about the paint dripping or not dripping. Sort of see what's going on there, I think. That's all it is. I just want to make a darkish, warm sort of colour. But I can never work holding a palette. So I'll just put it down there. Let's see what we get. Okay, so it's sort of Old Man of the Woods. So what I'm thinking is like a sort of slight hump in the woods there. So there's a hump here, a nice textured sort of thing with grass on it. So as I said, no clouds. I'll just use the white for the sky, and then sort of get some textures down here because I'm going to be putting roots and stuff coming down across that way. And then there's going to be this head, which will be about that sort of size, something like that, maybe top of the head there. I think after the last class, I did mention that I would do something like some kind of goblin type thing, or a gnome or something like that. But I think I'd rather do. Whoops! I just splashed on the floor, but never mind. So let's get a nice expression on the face. First of all, nose. Let's get the bottom of the nose. The bottom of the nose is going to be approximately there. And top of the nose is going to be sort of here. And let's think the mouth will be about there. And it's not going to be a smiley sort of gnome. And the reason being, I think it's easier when something is frowning because you use less muscles and in the face, which makes it easier to do. So doesn't look like much at the moment. In fact, looking back at the camera, it looks like these are the eyes, but they're not the eyes. So there's going to be one eye here. This is the technique of drawing where you feel your way and be as expressive as you can. And eventually I'll make it look like wood. Okay, how are we doing here? So we could do a sort of collection of heads maybe, but I don't know. Let's have the beginnings of an ear. Ears are funny things, especially when they're like mine. Because you've got to sort of get a certain amount of folds that look plausible within the ear. Brings back memories of life drawing, college. So even though it's a face, I've got to sort of give it a sort of tree-like feel. So we have a branch over there to start with, I think. And let's have for later, there'll be a branch up there coming out the top. And don't forget, if you're painting trees, this is not actually a portrait class. It's a, I don't know what you call it. It's a sort of let your imagination run. Let's have a branch that comes across that way. But if you're going to do a branch, keep it woody, keep it nice and textured and twisty. And in fact, I might do another face over here, like a sort of stump leaning out. And if you imagine the Harry Potter films, you know, all those funny little gnome type characters. Let's see what we can do there. We've got much of a chin, no. Let's have a face a bit like that. So that's going to be a stump there. And it'll mostly be in shadow. So time for a bit of paper. Let's have some foam. You can remember with anything you do like this, always going to start out looking really peculiar. In fact, if it's a gnome, I think this nose is probably going to get really sharp because it's half gnome, half tree. There was shadow under there because that's an eye. And it's looking that, obviously it's looking this way. And don't forget, when you draw and paint anything, you have to keep in your mind that nothing actually has an outline. It has a what do you call it? Profile, but there isn't actually a line around anything. It's just a change of tone. So the background ceases to be the background. Then you have to produce something that's got form in it. And we'll have all kinds of twiggy things poking at the top of that, I think. Okay, let's do more on the main face. So we've got this great big nose here. Let's start to give you an idea of where I'm actually going with it. So there's going to be a shadow. Light's coming from that side. So there's a shadow there. And that's one wing of the nostril there. That's a shadow on that side, but I think it's too big. So just take the shadow down there and soften this shadow. Soften that shadow there. Okay. What should we do with it? I think that eyebrow should have like a strong curl. Let's put it in like so. And then the bottom of the eye. Interesting that when I do anything like this, I find it harder to speak. And I think it's because it's a different part of the brain is working. When I paint clouds, I can sort of just not worry about it because it always seems to sort of work out. But with things like this, I do need to put a bit of effort into it. It's going to be an eye there. And I think probably some shadowy type stuff here. It's not a happy eye. Well, maybe I don't want it unhappy. I want it to be slightly weary because it's an old tree. That's the idea anyway. And it's got lice. Okay, I might have the mouth too far up. I think I prefer it further down, but I'm probably not going to worry about it too much. And then we're going to have some shadow down there. And then once I've got the face right, I'll start sort of working it outwards so it becomes more tree-like. I think here we could come in the shadow. And even though it takes a certain amount of concentration, the thing to do is to always, there we are, slightly longer. So you always try to relax. And it probably could have like jowls effect there. Okay. So then we got light on the top of the chin. A little bit more shadow under there. Now this eye, what should we do with that eye? I think that one should probably be looking in a different direction. So this one's looking straight at us, and I think this one going off that way. And let's take that eyebrow up even more. I have this plan in my head that when I get everything on there, I'll go over it with a big brush to try and sort of blur it all down a bit. We'll see there. Deep shadow, that's fine. It's going to be another tree trunk coming out the top there, I think. Quite a big chunky one, I think. Sort of carry on the tree effect. So we'll take that right across there, I think. Okay. And let's see. Definitely different. Nice deep shadow there. And then down here, let's give it a little bit of a, and then we'll pull that into the ground and turn it into roots in a minute. And that side, that's going to go disappearing off down that way. And then trying to get some tone into it. So that's all sort of blocking in type stuff. What I'll do now is make it, rather than just a face with things poking out of it, I'll turn it into something that is connected to the branches. And of course, there'll be tone across all this white stuff as well. So let's just get into it. But I really want to keep as much of the guide marks there as possible. Let's pull up a little bit of that for shadow coming up there, and I think bring that across. Amazing, isn't it? You can paint clouds and faces will just turn up. But when you start painting faces, it's a whole new ball game. But you just have to trust the process. Right, I think I'll take away, well, I'll change this area because I don't want it to look like, don't want it to look particularly demonic. Let's get a little bit more shade in there. Would there be a line there? I don't think there would actually. No, slight extra little bit of paint there because I'll need it in a minute. And then get a shadow down there and some lines that look as though they might be on wood. Okay, I'm going to take that. That's quite an angry looking eye, that. So I think I want to sort of take that away a bit. So I'm going to just pull that shadow there. The thing is that's making it look angry is that shape there. So I'm just going to, so it looks more, as I said, fed up with being a tree. Okay, so there we need, I don't know what these lines are called on your face. I know that this is called your philtrum between your nose and your top lip, but I'm not sure what these lines are called here, like this. That sort of crease mark that you get. And I think it should be emphasized there a little bit. And then when you paint a mouth, sometimes it's all you need to do is paint the join of the lips. The actual lips can be suggested, take that down there, can be suggested by marks near the mouth. Like for instance, if I do a little emphasis there, that tells you that this is bottom lip, that's top lip. Hopefully, hope so anyway. So that when you do something like this, also, it makes you realize when, well, particularly for me anyway, because when I was doing life drawing at college, we had to sometimes draw using a piece of a twig dipped in ink. And I think that was to get you used to the idea of using a twiddly little brush like this to keep you loose so that you start to build up interesting marks. So if I just do that, you see, I'm not doing this. It's not like I'm drawing per se. I'm just sort of using the brush loosely by holding it like that. So that sometimes I can apply pressure quite easily, but I can also do very thin stuff very easy because it's like it's sprung. It's almost like it's, suspension. Let's have a little dark bit there for later. And then it's like a stump, a copist stump. I think I want to make this branch have a bit more of a wiggle in it. I'm not using linseed, well, it is, it's the same as last time. It's linseed with some kind of drying agent in it. So by tomorrow morning, this will be hopefully quite dry. So before I do anything up there, I'm just going to think about that. I just want to do something here to get some deep shadow because I want light on that side. So I think this little character, he needs to be darker. A little dimpled chin, maybe there. And then just pull the paint up and down. And then maybe he would have some light twiggy type things coming off the top there. Okay. Bring up the bottom part of the eye. That will also make it look slightly more less threatening, I think. Lost my eyebrow. Actually, I nearly did the other day using clippers to trim my beard, and there was a bit of eyebrow that was unnecessary. A little bit too Spock-like. Nearly took the rest of my eyebrow off. Okay, that's all okay. A little bit of dark just there because I'm going to use some paper on that. I'm trying not to zoom in on these while I work. I'll zoom in later, but while I'm working, I think it makes a better video, I think. Certainly easier to edit. Okay, so I think we need some more tone down here. Let's just soften that. Soften that. Good. Now, I think over on that, so I've got a sort of hint of an ear here. Just put some dark in. It's got to, the idea, you see, it's got to be an ear, well, it's got to suggest ear, but of course it's a tree, so it wouldn't have a real ear. It wouldn't have a real nose and a mouth and all that, but it's, you've got to find a sort of line between the two. So I think what I'll do, I'll put a load of dark there to suggest a bit of structure, to something to suggest cheekbone. And then down here, just solid, because I can, once you get the solids on, you see the twigs are like second nature. So up here, I think we should just have a lot of reasonably old, gnarly okay. There's a case for whippy branches. They would usually be very thin, and thicker branches on something like, like a coppiced stump would be whippy and straight, a neat curl. A little bit of dark there so that I can put some whippy bits in. Show you that in a moment. And then up here, some kind of shape to suggest things going on there. Change of angle. And then maybe it needs a branch coming out over there. So maybe that one should come across there. And then I'll make it look as though it connects with the head in a moment. There's, I haven't finished yet, but there's the start of two heads. I think I want more shadow there. Definitely more down here. Right. More dark, because I want, as I said, I want to put some roots in there. Just give you an idea of how the roots will go, like, sort of feed off the bottom of the face and down into the ground. Like I said, it's harder to speak when I'm concentrating. Use my back. And maybe what I'll do is use the mouth shape to go right across. Would that work? Not necessarily, but never mind. Okay, quite happy with that. Yep, change that. Okay, so I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with this ear. Do I even want an ear? Maybe it wouldn't have an ear. Tell you what, I'll leave a hint of it there, and then I'll cover it with twigs so that you'll have to look to see it. I'll pull that down there, I think. Get a bit of twig in there. Even though I'm putting these lines here, I'll be going over that with paper in a minute. Doesn't look a happy tree, does it? So this excuse me, there seems to be a hint of a face appearing, which I have to say is quite weird, isn't it? Because, like I said, when I paint other stuff, faces, all kinds of things just appear. But when you are actually trying to do a face, it's a whole new can of worms. And the only ways that I think you can do it really well is to just not think about it, just relax, just see what turns up. I think I need to suggest through there that if you see what I'm hinting at here, this line down there has to suggest that the face is actually part of the tree and not a face that's stuck on a tree. That's an interesting conundrum. So I'm going to thicken that even more to take this line up. So what I'll do is suggest that the whole thing is the trunk. Pull that in a bit more. Stick that in there. Okay, stronger shadow, I think. Okay, but the idea now is I'm trying to sort of pull the face into the sort of woody zone. Drag it across, I think. That can look like something from the Planet of the Apes now. Well, I did say it was going to be different, didn't I? And some grass, I think, a little bit of grass. Not the whipping method, this is the swiping method. Right, let's get some Right, I want to sort of mute some of these whites here, so that's going to be interesting. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of paint. The question I'm asking myself is, do I need to take away the whites of the eyes a bit? Because it's just too human. What I'm after is a balance between a tree and a person. I think that's better with the white taken away a bit. Once I've got all my tones right, then I'll try to wood it up a bit. We'll pull that one all the way down. Take away the highlights a bit more there, I think. And then the question is, do I leave the nose nosy or do I make it less nosy? I want that one to sort of sink in the background with a bit of an afterthought. So again, I'll just take out the highlights. Okay. If you do attempt to do something like this, and I wouldn't blame you if you didn't. It seems sort of daunting, but treat it the same way that you would a landscape. You know, you get an idea in your head for the character, which sometimes almost automatic. Something like that. Let's change that. But once you get into it, you know, just look for making as many textures as you can. So that nose would have a shadow here. So do I want to keep it? I'm just sort of speaking what's going on in my head at the moment. Do I want it nosy or woody? So still very nosy. So I'm thinking, let's fill that with a bit more shadow. Yeah, that's better. Pull that around. That will describe the lip a bit more. And the bottom lip will catch a bit of light, and then so the shadow will shift, you see. Put that down there. Gives me a chance to get some dark next to this branch here, which gives you a little bit of depth. And a bit of shadow the other side. So how would I woodify it? I guess I'd just sort of put some lines down there. Pick that over. Okay. Quick look in my camera. Tell you what, might make it look a bit more goblin-y. To put a bit of a point there to it. Okay, I'll take away what looks like an ear and just sort of give it a pointy sort of thing. So let's lose these tones there. Okay. All right. Okay. A bit more. A little bit more here. Right, I don't like that being so dark there, so I'm just going to scumble over that just a bit. And let's try some. This effect. Once I've finished, I'll zoom in and show you what I'm doing here. I've got a sort of, because the brush has got a ragged edge. See, I can drag it around, and it'll leave marks like. Well, it's almost like a bark texture without doing each individual line. And I want to describe the lips as being slightly round. In fact, maybe sinking in a bit there. More like it. Right. Just stand back for a second. Okay, right. Just for the balance of the picture, I'm just going to do a hint of a bit of background over there, just with one of my trees on the top of the hill type thing. They're quite easy to do. You destroy anything, like, I got this sort of twisty bit of wood here, but if you break it when you're working next to it, doesn't matter. You can always bring it back, or you can reinforce it if you don't lose the whole thing. In other words, just going over that white bit down there, just to put a bit of tone on it, and then I can strengthen the root again just by going over it with a little bit of dark paint. Let's have a few more bits poking up. Some of you may notice when you paint, you reach a zone. Once you hit the zone, things start to sort of happen and get interesting. And you get textures and marks that appear that are worth keeping. As when you first start something like this, you will have bits where you think, oops, don't like that. But then it all starts to come together. I don't think, last time I did a head, a Nomi head, would have been pre-2000, I think. I think I did something. Oh yes, one of the pictures. Oh no, I didn't use it. No, I didn't use it. The thing I put on Facebook had a bunch of heads. One was a pencil drawing. One was like a gnome with two goblin-y type thing with eyes very close together. But there was another one, and I don't think I showed it. But it was for an article in a country magazine about old landowners being grumpy about footpaths and stuff like that. So I had to do this old grumpy looking chap. And he did look grumpy. I remember the editor asked me where I got the reference from. I said, I just looked around the office. Okay, so up there, I think we need some ultra thin. Time for a bit of rigor. As I'm working, the cat is prowling because I've moved stuff around. She used to have her own cat room, but now she's got the run of the house. And it took her a few minutes to find out where I'd put her dirt box, but she found it, thank goodness. Okay, so let's think, where are we going to put some twigs? Let's have some twigs coming off there. Again, hold the brush on the end, don't hold it like a pen. Not for this sort of work. I mean, there are things where you would do that, but for this, it's just keep it as loose and fluid as you can. Every now and then, change direction. And as you put the paint down, you maybe can't see it, I'm turning the brush. That means that there's fresh paint put on the surface continually. Look at that. I think he probably needs a few branches growing out of his nose or something. Let's see, not quite sure yet. Down up there. Okay, so all these branches will have twigs growing off them. Get a whole load of them. Sorry about my back. Couple down there. Um, I'll be asking some questions later. One thing I'm considering for this, because it's so unusual compared to what I normally do, I was thinking of just doing a speeded up version of this for the video. Let me know what you think. Some people like it, some don't. Some people really don't. When I've put up a few in the past on YouTube, um, I looking at my statistics, I can see several people unsubscribe because they don't want that. They want real time. Sorry, my back again, but yeah, they want real time and they want me to talk. Don't know. It's up for debate. Okay, that's sort of working reasonably well. Have thin one or two there. Let's have one there. Now, if you do something like that, you've got to think about where it comes from, where it goes. So that's nice and bright. It comes down here, it gets more pale. It's always a good idea if you're going to do this, as you get to the bottom, keep the light and broaden it a little bit where it actually makes contact or wherever it grows from. I think we might have that as growing from the main tree. So if I just, nothing will happen at the top. It's just so I can get my mark here in the right place. So I'm just going to sort of bring that down, slight stain there, a little bit there, and then connect it up there. Perspective in twigs. So that's clearly in front of most things. So at the bottom, I'm just going to sort of make a little connection there. Okay. More wiggling. One of the things that makes a picture like this is, and sometimes I don't spend enough time doing it, and that is masses and masses of twigs in this sort of illustration always looks much better than just, a few twigs, because I'm constrained a bit by time. Not that I have to be anywhere, it's just how long I can stand up. So let's just get in as many as we can. Or indications of more oil on that, I think. Indications of twigs. See, do we need twigs this? Yeah, probably. Let's have a few there. Let's have one there. A line there. Why not? I think. There. I'm tempted to do a class that is just on straight portraiture, just which might have to go over several lessons because it's not a fast process. Do I need any more in there? I think we need a top eyelid, but I don't know. I mean, I painted enough portraits in my life, and it is quite stressy. Do I need to do that? We just need a bit of light on the top eyelid, like so. How's that looking on the camera? That's better because it's a bit more dimension there. And I think a line of light just there. Okay. Now, one thing I was going to do, just as an experiment, I don't know whether it'll work, but I've got a brush here that's seen better days. Which one was this one? This is I call them crispies because it's going a bit crispy. And I was thinking of dragging this over. No, I don't want to lose anything. But I'll tell you what, standing sideways looking at this. Oh, by the way, are there any reflections? I don't think so. It looks like the paint's starting to dry already because that's the cicative, but who knows? Let's see what happens. Believe me, this takes braveness. Just want to drag that carefully. Don't know what that did for it, but it may be okay. Let's just push that in some paint there and just. What do I want to do up here? All right. Okay, more roots. And some roots. How far do I want to go on the roots? Right. See that there isn't working, so I think we'll just. Yeah, it's incredible how that's drying. I don't think I'll be using just plain linseed oil. Keep using this stuff. It's actually quite good. Let's blend that into there. Right, I'm just going to get some squiggly roots in there. Now, when you do roots, it's one of these things where you've got to don't go too far because it can look a bit. I love this word, naff. And the roots are a bit like everything else in landscape painting. Is that there has to be randomness. Got to be as random as you can make them. So all the different little squiggles that you put in mustn't be predictable. Just push that up there. I think that sounds a bit more dark on that. So that I can put in some grassy texture in a minute. We'll pull that right up. Just have a hint of that, of the mouth curling down. I don't know, I do this thing where I whip the the painting. I don't know whether it will work on this. It's actually, I can almost hear it drying. Let's put it that way. Numb that down. Let's just see what happens when so if I put a bit more solid paint on that, what will happen? Let's see. So if I want some texture down here, is that going to do it? Oh, well, it sort of does it. Got to dig it in a bit there. I'm going to start connecting the tree into these shadows here. So let's have a little bit of a line or two there. So yeah, roots, you see, they go all over the place. And the shape of the roots will explain to the viewer what's happening. This is either dropping off sharply, but it isn't. That's not what I intended. Or this bit of land here at the bottom is closer than that. And to do that, all I need to do really is just make the roots travel along like so and like this. So that one will bend there and go off that way and come back this way and then down there. So keeping these shapes reasonably horizontal in this area should give that effect. With a slightly thicker root there. And then I'll cover up bits of it in a minute. So, quick look in the camera again. Okay, good. Right, this I'm going to connect more strongly to something. Good. What I want to do is to knock the face into the wood a bit more. Now, whether I can do that today or whether I need to do it at a later date, I'm not sure yet. It works quite well. I've got, I've got some lights and dark. And now, next thing is to just dab up a bit of colour, like so, and just sort of spread it around a bit. And cover up some bits of root every now and then. And let's get more grass in there, I think. So I want not happy with that. See. And, okay. Right, I think Still not right. Let's try, if plan A and B don't work, there's always plan C. So maybe I just need some small twiggy things coming down here. I think I might use this branch slightly more. I can actually wipe it, or I can't. Amazing how fast this is drying. Or sinking in, I'm not sure, it's one or the other. Try that. Got to get in the way for a second. I must make an effort to speak more while I'm doing this one, because otherwise it's a bit like painting on radio, isn't it? There's a theme that would not work, would it? Painting on the radio. Let's strengthen the edge of that, and then blur it a bit at the bottom. That'll do it. Okay, more twigs. Thing is to make it intricate looking, and it's one of these things where it's like I've got a giant painting in the other room of a tree. I mean, really big one, and I've got to get literally, I would estimate 1,000 twigs onto that painting, and there is someone interested in buying it, but it's the amount of time it would take me to get all those twigs in. And there have been days where I've come really close to doing it and given up. Okay, right. Oh, well, it's a face in a tree, but I wanted to get it more integrated into the tree. Not sure whether that works, but it's okay. Yeah, probably be all right. It's sort of entertaining. Let's have a little bit of a, let's have one of those, what they call it, well, it's like a frown mark, isn't it? Take that one up a bit higher. Maybe this sort of thing's good for children's books, although actually it might frighten the life out of some kids. Imagine having an overactive imagination and being 5 or 6 years old and seeing this in a book. You wouldn't go down to the woods again, would you? Okay. bit more texture down here before it dries. Do I have time? And it was the long taper method, in other words, piece of paper, screw it up. So rather than hit the whole sheet of paper on there, just gonna hit it with that bit. I have a feeling, I know it's going to work. I have a few there. Okay. Did I make the face correctly? I don't know. Excuse me. You probably can't see it, but give you an idea of how hard I'm having to press it to get through the paint, because it's either absorbing or drying. I'm not sure. It looks like it might be absorbed into the board. Who knows? But there's actually little bits of paper floating around on there because this is breaking down. It doesn't normally do that. I don't normally have to press quite so hard. But ultimately, it's the effect I want, so it doesn't really matter, I suppose. Another one there. Okay. Trying it with a little bit of paint actually on here, just to sort of get some texture. It's all about texture, anything like this. Anything to do with the woodlands, it's just plastered with texture. At it. I think I may be nearing the end. Do a little bit more. A bit more rootery there. I don't think it needs a twinkle in its eye. I think that may be almost all I can manage today. Still, the nose is still a bit too nosy. Maybe I should turn it into a bit of a knot. Oops. Okay. Add more oil on that, or shadow just there. It's very hard for me to not make it nosy. Right, I think I'll stop there and take a photo of it. No, hang on a minute, I can't, not yet. Just got to blur that shadow. Oh well, I think that's it. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Certainly a bit different from my normal stuff. Before I go, I'd just like to wish you all a very happy, healthy, prosperous and peaceful new year. A special thank you to my patrons via my Patreon page. Thank you, I couldn't have done it without you. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.